everybody in the flaky brunette world. We are at the March for Our Lives in Greensboro, North Carolina, and we're going to be talking to some people and see where they stand on the issues and what they believe should happen in schools. So let's get to it.
Well, I am here to show my support for all of these kids who are here rallying to end gun violence in schools and anywhere else where there's gun violence. We want our kids to feel safe wherever they are.
Okay, and what do you think should be done as far as ending gun violence? Like, what kind of policies can they put in place? Or
well, I think the very first thing that needs to be done is a ban on assault-style weapons to the general public, because there's no reason that anybody in the general public should own one.
How would you define an assault weapon?
Well, anything that could kill multiple people in a very short period of time.
Okay. Well, I mean, on the other side, that could be, you could define that as anything, really. So if some
well, sure. I mean, I luckily do not know a lot about firearms, so I'm not an expert to talk about that. But certainly anything with a high-capacity magazine, something that can shoot a lot of bullets in 10 seconds, should not be allowed.
Okay. And are you familiar with the any North Carolina gun laws that we have currently that need to be changed, or?
Well, I know that the waiting period, from what I understand, isn't long enough to have a valuable background check to make sure that the people that are purchasing guns are responsible. So I'd like to see that changed.
High school. I teach 11th grade social studies, and these are a bunch of our students and former students.
Hey. So, what do you guys like are protesting? I mean, obviously gun control, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So you guys all stand behind the activists in the Parkland shooting, like David Hogg and all that? Yeah, you do? Why?
Yeah. I just think that there's been way too much gun violence over the last, I don't know what, 10, 20 years. I mean, it's just multiplied and multiplied, and it's just enough. There shouldn't be this happening in schools this often, or really at all, to be honest.
Yeah.
What do you guys want to see change in schools as far as
we should be able to go to school without being scared or threatened or be nervous to go into class just to get an education. We're able to get an education for free here. So I want to see a change in us from not being scared and being able to sit down in class and actually learn without feeling.
I heard you guys just chanting NRA must go. Can I ask you why you feel that way?
Oh, don't even.
No, I'm just asking. This is a legitimate question. I'm not taking sides. I'm just asking.
They have bought so many politicians, and it just turns my stomach.
Instead of spending their money to buy guns, and I'm a teacher of 34 years, for teachers in the classroom, let them spend their money to put cameras in the schools to have a positive reaction instead of a negative reaction.
Y'all blame the NRA for the Florida shooting then?
No, I don't. Cool. But I do blame the NRA for letting assault rifles be available to people. There's no excuse for any civilian on this planet to own an assault rifle.
And that's what you have to understand about us. It's not so much, we're totally against assault weapons. That's totally beyond what Americans need in their homes to live their day-to-day lives.
And I do support the Second Amendment.
Right,
absolutely.
Okay, cool.
What do you define as an assault weapon?
An automatic or semi-automatic weapon.
Well, semi-automatic is handguns as well.
Right.
So,
I'm against assault weapons.
right, but semi-automatic just means you pull the trigger once and it shoots one time. Automatic means you hold it down and it continuously streams.
Right.
The recent shootings have been with semi-automatic, which is one trigger pull, which is just like a handgun.
So are you just against AR-15s then, as opposed to like handguns?
AK-47s,
There's also one
AR-15s.
one shot per trigger.
So you're just saying
I've done a lot of research on the guns also, and it's multiple fire with the bump stock.
With a bump
And
stock.
so what we need to do is get rid of the weapons. Yeah, but to get rid of the weapons that the bump stock is adapted to.
right.
Yes. And it's not just the children. Look at Las Vegas. Look at the Florida, Orlando shooting.
Well, that was done by somebody from ISIS, though. That was done by a terrorist.
What?
The Orlando shooting. That was done because somebody was.
Somebody
Yeah.
access to guns.
Yeah, but he would have had access to guns anyway because he's a bad guy.
We don't.
You don't
The
know that.
point. The point we're trying to make here is we've got to stop the killing.
Right.
Let's get to the reality. We need to stop, and so we can make. You can make excuses that okay, Orlando wasn't by somebody other than ISIS.
Right.
Bottom line, we gotta stop.
Right.
Okay.
Well, I agree with you on that.
We have to do background checks on people, and
Background checks are already done.
not in everywhere. Not at gun shows.
They are done at gun shows.
No, they're not. They don't have
You
to wait
can't go to a
3
gun
days.
show and pick up a gun and
I think
leave.
you're full of crap.
Okay, so why are you guys out here today? Like, what's your message for the world?
To just like protest against guns and use them in the right way, because I mean this shouldn't happen. Like no one should be dying because the school should be guns should be safe.
Right, right. So what do y'all want to see happen in schools?
I want to see stricter gun regulations because I'm scared when I go to school. Like we had a lockdown the other day and I was like terrified.
Right.
Everyone was just so scared.
What do you think could be improved upon, like the North Carolina laws already?
I mean, laws everywhere need to be stricter in regard to guns because it's insane that people can go have mental health issues and have awful backgrounds that point to gun violence and be able to get a gun so easily.
Do you agree with wholeheartely with like what David Hogg and the Parkland kids are saying? Do they speak for you guys? Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. Yeah, I just saw your protein. Can I talk to y'all for a second? Would that be okay? Oh yeah. So you guys are out here. What's your message to the world that you're out here protesting right now?
Human lives are so much more important than being able to access military-style weapons.
Right, right. What do you guys want to see happen in schools?
daughter who's a high school teacher.
I'm sorry? What do y'all want to see happen in schools?
I think it's clear there needs to be reform. This is really a nonpartisan issue because everyone has children and all the children deserve to be safe. It shouldn't be a political partisan issue.
Right, right. So what do you want to see added to the North Carolina gun laws that would make them tougher? Like what would be a good thing?
Increased background checks, for one.
What's that?
Increased background checks.
Okay.
Well, we do have background checks. Okay.
More of them? Yeah.
Okay, so we're here with Sarah for the March for Our Lives march. So what brings you here today?
I've been really into gun control for about 25 years now, starting in high school. And in that 25 years, the situation's gotten worse, not better. And one of them's over there, and I have 2 small children myself, and the fact that I had to be scared about them going to school is really unacceptable. And you're right there, but it's really unacceptable to me that I have to be worried about my children going to school of all places. And the thought of our teachers having guns is also unacceptable to me. I think we need reasonable gun control right now, and so I wanted to come out and support, and it's just amazing that the folks who organize this are teenagers and in high school themselves, and that they're the ones who are making change while the adults just do nothing. And so I wanted to come out here today to support them.
Okay, and what would you define as reasonable gun control?
You know, that's an evolving opinion. Back in high school, I probably would have said no guns whatsoever. You know, as I learn more about it and know more people, you know, I think if clearly, you know, hunters should have a gun. Sportsmen can have guns. If you want to have a gun to protect your house, I mean, I think you're more likely to shoot yourself or a loved one, and I don't think it's maybe the wisest move, but that's your decision. But I think having assault rifles and military-grade weapons out on the streets is totally unnecessary.
Okay, and what would you define as an assault weapon?
That's a good question, too. I'd have to do more research into it, but certainly anything that can fire multiple rounds fast that would be carried by the military, no civilian needs to have access to that.
Okay. And just in regards to your sign here, do you think the NRA played a part in the recent shootings?
No, I mean, I don't think per se they've played a direct role in the recent shootings. I do think clearly indirectly that, you know, they have contributed to campaigns and made active moves to block any legislation towards reasonable gun control, which most of the country believes is needed. And I think their money and power has influenced politicians and prevented, you know, anything reasonable from happening. And so in an indirect way, they've allowed access to these weapons. But I would never go as far as say directly they were involved by any means.
Okay. All right. Well, we appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. What do you think about this protest?
I think it's amazing what these kids are doing.
Yeah.
I think that's what it's gonna take, is these kids teaching us how to change the world. I'm proud of them. It's amazing.
What do you want to see happen? Like, what do you think should happen?
So really, when we talk about common sense gun laws, I mean, we're talking about people don't need military-grade weapons.
Right.
You know.
What do you consider a military-grade weapon?
So, I mean, we're talking about, like, really anything semi-automatic is what I'm thinking of.
But
my own
handguns are semi-automatic.
They can be.
Because you know, my wife and I both obviously care a lot about the issue of gun violence, and it's just one of those things. I think you know, shouldn't have to be a partisan issue. It shouldn't have to be political. I think the idea of valuing all lives has gotten kind of a radical thing, and it just shouldn't be.
Right.
I think the idea that we should all just try to get out there and make sure each other are safe is a notion that shouldn't be radical, and I want to get out here and help remind people of that. So.
Can I ask you one question though? I'm very much in the middle with these.
Sure.
So you say that, so are you pro-life or pro-choice?
I'm personally pro-choice, but I would leave that decision to,
really?
I guess, women, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
I guess you're kind of catching me in a trap, so
No,
we're going to go ahead
no,
and
I was just
determine.
asking you.